I spoke with Gary Gygax's son, Luke, about his character Melf and how his iconic spells came about. What was your first experience?
My first experience with playing D&D, I was very young. So my father wrote it in 1973 and published it in 1974. I think I played probably in 75. I don't think it was as early as 74 because I would have been 3 years old at that time. Uh, but I do remember we were a group around our living room table in 330 Center Street, which is where I grew up and where Dungeons and Dragons was written. And in the basement, they played on the sand table, chainmail, and all those things. Uh, and my dad said, "Okay, yeah, you want to play?" Because of course I'm a kid. Dad, I want to play. I want to play. So he said, "Hey, shake the dice here. You're going to be one of the man-at-arms that are here, and this party of brave adventurers was going to go check out some abandoned fortress on the edge of a town called Hamlet." And I think this was a very early prototype of T1. And sure enough, my character, he told me, "Hey, you really are a little bit better. You're not just a man-at-arms, but you're going to pretend to be, kind of stupid, and you're just slow." And my name was Otis, and that became my character, Otis the Ranger. He was actually a ranger. He was a first-level ranger who worked for the druid in the woods and was just spying on the party to make sure that they weren't servants of evil. And of course they weren't. They were a good party, and I ended up joining with them and going on many adventures, including against the giants and descent into the, fight the drow and those sorts of things.
You also had a few other characters. One of them was Melf, right?
Yes, that's right.
Very famous character. You had like multiple spells named after that character. Can you tell me a little bit about that character?
Sure. Well, Otis came to an ignoble end, which is a story. It's another story.
Very common in D&D.
Yeah, yeah. And he's a ranger lord, and the way he died was, the way he retired from adventuring was unique. But it wasn't unique. It's actually shared probably by a lot of people. I went through the Tomb of Horrors, and it didn't turn out so well for me. It was a good story. Anyway, I digress. Melf, I played Melf after Otis. He was, I kind of rolled him up to be a henchman for an NPC a character I was going to run through Barrier Peaks, but I ended up not doing that, and I just played Melf, instead going through Greyhawk Dungeons, just pretty much solo with my dad, adventuring around and just trying to figure things out, and gained a few levels, and I was just having a good time doing pretty much straight dungeon exploring the lower levels as a lower level character. And I remember I made it to 5th level magic user. Well, I was pretty excited because that meant fireball, right? We all want fireball. And I had to study for my spells. I had to spend the gold to train. And sure enough, I was able to find somebody with fireball, pay them. And I made the roll. Yes, I could memorize it. I could learn fireball. Yes, all right. So I go down to the dungeon, and I kick open the door, and sure, I can't remember what was in there, ogres or something. But I was like, yes. And I said, the room's about 30 by 30. Great. I throw a fireball right in this, just back a little bit from the center. Well, I learned about volume. I learned about area versus volume that day because the ceiling was not 30 feet high. So, of course, there was some backwash of fire that came shooting down the tunnel, and I had to make a saving throw, and I think I blew it, and I didn't get killed, but I lost some of my items, and I was like, man, this is not good. I need to figure something out. So I said, why can't I make them smaller into smaller fireballs? My dad's like, well, maybe you can, but you're going to have to go, research how that's going to be done and spend some time, So I had to take myself out of game for a few weeks, spend a certain amount of gold, describe what the effects that I wanted and these sorts of things, make a few dice rolls, and then we came up with Melf's Minute Meteors. So I thought that was a great spell, and you could use it, and that way you're not, even if you're in a confined space, you have something that can bring some good damage, but you're not getting yourself caught in the blast.
That's excellent. You also had Melf's Acid Arrow?
Right. Yes. So one thing I noticed, and this is a very common tactic, the monsters were not stupid when my dad was playing. Some of them, if they actually had low intelligence, they might be played that way. But a lot of them were cunning. They were savvy. Even kobolds, they weren't going to make it unless they they were cunning. So they would employ tactics. They would try to fool you. They would set traps and ambushes. And a very common technique for maybe a spellcaster, whether it's a human mage or cleric that has some evil henchmen who are orcs or whatever the case may be, or even just brigands, they're going to put the meat shields up front and cast from the back. And I was playing solo a lot of times, or maybe with one or two other people. So because at home, I was the youngest kid, I was home, so I'd bug my dad and I'd play. So I was thinking to myself, man, I'm a fighter magic user, but I can't use my spells because I'm in combat, and if you get hit, you lose your spell, and then it's gone. If I didn't get initiative. So I was thinking, man, and these guys are just beating me up with spells from the back. So I decided, well, what would be a way, if they were taking damage, then they couldn't cast either. They couldn't concentrate and cast. And then I would have a chance to kill the relatively easy fodder in front of me. Just takes a few melee rounds to cut through them. And then I could get to them, and then they'd be in big trouble. So I thought, what if I am an elf, I have a longbow, I'm pretty good with it. I could shoot them and have some sort of continuous damage, So I thought about that and kind of, okay, like maybe if I had acid all over, so well, it's gonna have to maybe magical acid, like a snake bite or something, like almost like shooting a snake through the air or something. So I got this acid that's gonna come out of there. If I can hit them, then they'll take continuous damage, disrupt their spell casting. I kill the guys in front, and before they're ready to, really be effective, I'm in there hand to hand with them. So that was my technique to, without a whole lot of party members, how I could kind of even that advantage or take away that tactic.
Thank you, Luke Gygax, for being on D&D Beyond. I'm Todd Kenrick, your host. Thank you so much for watching.